Hi, I'm Julia.
And I'm Sue.
And welcome to Sticks and Stones Summer Edition. Today on Sticks and Stones, we're going to talk about some of the things we've been doing, and we're going to show you how to needle felt.
Welcome to Sticks and Stones. We're outside today at my house.
Beautiful, beautiful day. And if you hear anything unusual, it's probably the children. So,
or it might be a car, a dog, or the birds, or the wind.
It's a great day though, so we had to take advantage of it. So, what have you been doing lately?
Well, this past weekend I was at the Museum of Indian Culture in Allentown.
Fun.
And I was working on. They had an Artifest, which is a multicultural art fest, and so I was there demonstrating quill work and horsehair work and selling goods.
Oh, cool.
And while I was there, I made a couple things. I made this necklace. These are some of the beads that I got in New York City, these green ones, and I linked them all together, and then the man in the stand next to me, who was from Mali, West Africa, and sells African imports, gave me a bunch of beads that he could no longer use. He just said that they had come off the string, and he sold strings of beads. So he said, "Here, you want these?" And I saw them, and I was like, they will go great on this. And so, ta-da!
That's really neat. Did you make every one of those little tiny connectors?
Actually, that's what he said to me. He's like, "How long does that take you? You know, can you make money off that?" I was like, no. I made this for me.
Yeah.
It was actually very inspiring and got me back into the creative groove. So I made that, and I made some earrings that are similar to the stitch markers we made. Oops, I'm dropping them. And so I'm going to have these up on my Etsy shop.
Oh, good.
They're so fun.
What's the address of your shop?
It's Red Tail Designs on Etsy.
We'll put a link for that for you guys.
And so these are the mille-fourrée beads and these little faceted ones. And I also made these green fun beads that actually match this necklace somewhat.
And did you make those wires too?
No, I bought the wires, but in looking at them, I could very easily make them.
Those are a neat shape.
Actually, I bent one and broke it, and that's how I came up with these, is I cut it off and made it shorter.
Ah, okay.
So, fun.
Neat.
How about you? What have you been up to?
Well, I got a bunch of things started. I do have one finished thing. These are called Spatterdash gloves, and they're kind of based on the idea of spats that you put on your shoes, but they're little mitts, and they're kind of neat. They're almost vintage looking because there's a whole big long row of buttons.
I love the buttons, and you used all different ones, and and they're random. You didn't like do a pattern, which is fun.
These are actually buttons from my grandmother's button box. She grew up in the Depression, and before she gave away any shirt, she cut all the buttons off and kept them. So these are all like little cuff buttons or collar buttons from shirts from the 30s and 40s. So I thought that was kind of neat, and I just think they're kind of fun.
They're way fun. I might have to order a pair for you. Because I like this design here that you did with the knitting.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just the straight across.
And these are a free pattern on knitty.com, so it was really neat to try something new. So that's my one thing I finished, and then I have my yarn that I showed you guys on the bobbin last week. They're gonna be hot.
I don't care.
They do match your outfit. They match you really well. But you remember the wool I had on the bobbin? This is the finished plied wool, and I got
I'm so impressed.
120 yards. It's kind of, it's not perfect, but it's.
I think it's beautiful.
It turned out really pretty. There's some spaces like this one here you can see I didn't quite ply it right. It's a big fat thing.
So when you knit it, if you really wanted to, could you cut it off here and here and then just tie it together?
Yeah, you could, or you could just use that as part of your design. I think this is probably between a double knit and a worsted weight, depending on where you look at it. So I probably will make a scarf or a pair of gloves or something. So
I think that would be a pretty scarf.
And this is a silk and wool blend. So it's got a lot of sheen.
A little bit of the red in it.
It does.
That would look lovely with my gloves. Look at me, I'm all set for winter.
We'll just put this here. She'll be good to go.
All right.
And then I started a couple things for the Nerd Wars. This is going to be a little jacket for Ian, for my son. It's just a real simple jacket. I'm basing it on Peter Rabbit's coat, so I can link it into link it into a show that way. And then this is the beginning of a sweater for me.
Ooh, I like that color.
Yeah, this is my anniversary yarn that I got for our 10-year anniversary in February, and I'm finally using it. And this is just called a shawl collar sweater, but I just think that the lace pattern, you probably can't see it, I'll have to do a nice close-up later, but it's just a really pretty lace pattern. And this is actually the sleeve.
Oh, I was curious where that is.
And what the sweater does is you work from sleeve to center, and then from sleeve to center, and it comes together with a V in the middle. So it's a really interesting construction of a garment. Most sweaters are worked, you know, either neck down or bottom up. So working side to side for me is something completely new and different. Plus doing a full lace sweater is a lot more than I've ever done before. So
you don't think I can start that this week, huh?
maybe.
With my mad
It's really
knitting
just,
skills.
like I
I'm
say, it's really
kidding.
just
I still
really
have to do
just
the purl.
That's true. That is true. But
I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. No, it's beautiful.
It's kind of fun though, and so I did this last night, and it wasn't very hard. I think my goal is to get it done by the end of August. I would really love to wear it before the summer's out, so hopefully you'll be seeing some growth as we go here. So that's what I've been doing.
Fun.
Yeah. I just wanted to say real quick, thank you to Tina of Knitting Blooms. I won some yarn. I've been winning a lot of yarn lately, and I love it. This is
You should play
really
the
pretty.
lottery.
I should.
If you win money like you win yarn,
it's not quite as fun as winning yarn. Of course, you
Really?
can take the money and go buy the yarn. But this is really neat. It's from Revelations of a Delusional Knitter. That's the brand. So I just thought that was cool, and it's a colorway that I would probably never buy myself. So thanks to Tina.
okay, on to the DIY.
Sounds great.
So today for our DIY we're going to talk about needle felting, and you can see these are different examples of needle felting. There's basically two types of needle felting. There's the one-dimensional needle felting, and where you take wool roving and you needle felt it onto an object. So this penguin is needle felted onto a wool mitten, and this flower is needle felted onto something that's been knit. You can also do three-dimensional objects. So in this case, the needle felted wool, which has been dyed different colors, is needle felted together, and then you can shape it into different objects, like these. This little sheepy. In order to begin wool felting, you need a few basic tools. One is a foam block of either type like this. You can also use a sponge, and that is your base so that when you're needle felting, you don't go into your table and dull your needle. The other thing you need is a felting needle, and we have several different kinds here. This one has a nice rubber grip on the end of it. And they're different colors for different sizes, and you can see they're protected by straws so that you don't injure yourself. And so the needles have little tiny barbs on them, and that's what helps to felt the wool. This tool here has several needles on it, so you can do a big area at one time. Needle felting needles can be found at some craft stores. Needle felting gained some popularity a few years ago, and you could find needle felting needles in places like Michael's. There are some places that still carry that. A lot of times they're near the knitting stuff, or you can ask where they have the felting pieces, and they sell felted purses, and then you just want to felt onto them, and a lot of times that kit will come with a needle.
What you see here is just a bunch of different kinds of fiber. This is wool, and here's some other different colors of natural wool. And then these four I got in a kit from Michael's, and they are dyed. I'm not sure what percentage of wool they are, or if there's some kind of synthetic fiber in there. I've also needle felted with polyfiber filling, like you would use to stuff a toy. So if you don't have wool lying around, you can always practice with something like that. But here's how you would needle felt. I'm just going to put another little flower on this fabric here. This is just a seed stitch square I was going to use for a purse at one point and haven't done much with yet. So I'm just going to throw some colors on here and see how it works. So what you'll do is you'll just unfold a little bit of your roving to the color that you want, and I'm going to do red, and you pull it. You want to pull from about a couple inches away so that you're not yanking the fiber really hard, and just pull off a section. This is the staple length you'll be working with. I'm going to pull off two because I'm going to make a little circle. And then you kind of just fold it to the shape that you think you might want. I've got this on my block. And then you'll take your needle and you just basically start stabbing it. Watch your fingers because they are very sharp and it will hurt. But you just poke it into the block below what you're working on, and the little barb on the needle catches the fibers from the underneath fabric and the wool you're working on top and mixes them together. So they get kind of all tangled up and gripped. And you just stab and stab and stab and stab until you think it's working. I'm going to try this big one because I've never tried that before and see how that works. Now this is not going into my foam very easily, so that's kind of interesting. You have to really press with this one. But it is felting it a lot quicker. So that's the general idea. You just continue to poke this in until it's attached to the amount that you want it to be. And then, say you want to add another color. Maybe I'll throw in some yellow for the center. You just unroll this until I get to the yellow. Pull off a little bit, and I'm going to poke it in the middle. And this is the general idea. It's not going to be perfect right now, but you can see that I have the beginnings of another little flower. And it's pretty well stuck down here at the bottom. It's not coming off anymore right down there. So that's how you needle felt.
All right. So with the 3D needle felting, what I love about it is it's very sculptural. And the more you needle felt a section, the tighter the wool goes together, and then you can get more of a sculptural element. So you can see here in this flower, I'm making a vein along the leaf to make a little indentation. As long as I keep going along that same spot, it's going to make it tighter and tighter. And so if I wanted to make a vein off to this side, I would just start needle felting over here, and you can see how it's starting to make an indent. And the more I do it, the more it tangles it up, and the more you get these sculptural details. And the lovely thing about needle felting is that if you mess up and you decide, oh, I don't like that, you take another piece of wool and you put it right on top and you keep needle felting, and then you're fine. And so I find this a lot of fun and relaxing because you're just doing the same motion over and over, and you get to do this great sculptural thing without having to use clay or plaster. Now with these pieces, wool roving is a pretty expensive product, and so what I do is I start with polyfill, which is the stuff that Julia mentioned before that you use to fill toys. And so I'll start with that and make just a ball to start with, and maybe do some basic sculpturing here, and then I covered it with the wool roving. Some people think you should do the whole thing in wool, but you know, depending on how big you're making something, that can get pretty expensive. So I like to start with polyfill. It's also, if you mess it up, I mean, once you kind of needle felt it in there, it's hard to get back out. So if you start with a polyfill and realize that your form isn't what you wanted, you can start over, and that stuff is, you get a great big bag for hardly anything. The other thing I wanted to talk about is there is another kind of felting. This is needle felting because you use a needle. There's also machine felting, where you take a piece like this. This is the coasters that I bought that I showed in the first episode, and someone knit this coaster or crocheted it out of wool, and then they put it in the washing machine, and when they do that, the action of the water going back and forth, especially warm water, and then drying it, it tangles up all these fibers and it shrinks it down, and it makes it real, it makes it felt. That's where felt comes from. And then they needle felted on here this design, and so they took a needle with the white felt and needle felted it on there. So you can use water to felt as well. So I'm going to keep making my little veins here. Making some more flowers?
No, I'm just going to make a bunch of little balls, and I'm going to try to put them on a ring, maybe.
Oh, fun!
Or string them on a strand and make like a little yarn ball necklace or something. I don't know.
Okay.
Kind of plan.
I made a little butterfly form, and I'm trying I'm attempting to needle felt that. I'm not sure if it's gonna work. You know, the problem with this foam one is a lot of times I end up needle felting it to the foam, where your foam is nice and
Yeah, it's a lot.
and hard, so
firmer.
it doesn't get stuck to that.
I always have to be careful. I don't needle felt the roving to my fingers
Oh my gosh.
because I'm not very good at this yet. And I've poked myself a number of times already. So
Yeah, that's why I keep my fingers back. All right, well, I think that's it for us today, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Thank you for joining us outside for Sticks and Stones.
All right, have a great week. Bye. As the dog comes running out. I think I needle felted a bug.